Hi, I'm Gabe.
And I'm Kat.
And we're the Ghouls Next Door. Yeah.
Yeah. The more we do it, I feel like the better we get.
At singing?
Yeah. In unison, specifically, and on the same key. Like, in unison, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe we should make a choir.
No. I don't think so. Next door. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what we do. Actually, what we do here is we talk about spooky stuff.
Yeah, all day. Every day. 7 days a week.
At least every week.
At least every week.
Every week we're talking to you guys about something spooky. And this month we are talking about horror directors.
Yeah.
So we're giving you the lowdown on who they are.
Yeah.
And what they're doing.
Yeah.
What it means when they do that stuff.
Yeah.
Check in on their mental health.
Uh-huh. And with this one, it really is just,
we're very
this
concerned.
One's different, man.
Yeah.
It's different.
It's an experience.
And I never knew that we would be here.
And we're forever changed.
Yes. Yes, 100% forever changed. By
Takashi Miike.
Yep.
So we're going to be talking about him today. We're going to be covering a few of his films, and we'll be brushing up on some of others that we did not watch because we care too much about our own well-being and mental health.
Yes.
And now we are really very concerned about Takashi Miike's.
Or at least just very thankful that he does what he does instead of other things.
Yeah.
So.
Of which he would still be very good.
Yeah.
So he picked a good talent to have.
It's just safer for us.
Yeah.
And only slightly.
Yeah. Because you can make the choice of not watching, and then you're fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
whereas if you can't make the choice to not be murdered, so.
Exactly. Yeah. He's made over 100 films, so he's got a lot. He's got a very hefty backlog of filmography.
And we'll be real with you, ghouls and ghouls.
Yeah.
We did not watch all 100 films because, no.
We don't have that much time.
But just for other reasons also.
Mm-hmm.
In that, it would be very traumatizing. But we're very impressed that he was able to make 100 films. And the 3 that we watched and 1 that we read about was enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we get it.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for some information about Takashi Miike.
We tell you facts. All the facts. Here facts. Still facts. About that spooky stuff. Yeah, spooky stuff.
All right. So I don't even know where to start.
Okay.
But the biggest takeaway that I got from all this is I don't know if there's ever been a time outside of the movie Tusk
Yes.
that we had been genuinely just
Why?
shocked.
Yeah.
Every single one of his films, the ending was shocking. Everything that led up to it was a lot. It was a time.
Mm-hmm.
And I genuinely don't think I've ever been as shocked as I ever have in the history of my life, my existence,
Yes.
than I have while watching one of his films.
Mm-hmm.
So, the takeaway from that is, man, who hurt you?
Aww.
Or why are you trying to hurt us?
Yeah, better question.
And it's I get people it was well done, it was well shot, it was creative in the truest sense of the use of the word creative, and in that it was not anything I would have thought to do. And just genuinely shocking. I still kind of can't fathom. And I honestly think that Takashi proves that there is a Rule 34 for horror films, which, if you don't know what Rule 34 is what I've Googled Urban Dictionary, saying that, if there's something in porn, if you can think it up, it's happened.
Yeah.
If you can think it up, there's a porn about it.
Yeah.
If you can think your most messed up thought that you've ever had in your life,
Yeah.
Takashi has made that film, and taken it one step further
Then
you were
thought.
able to, that you could have ever even fathomed it could go. And I'm saying these things, I don't mean them as mean things. I am genuinely impressed.
Yeah.
Because I didn't think I could be shocked again. I thought Tusk was my limit,
Yeah.
and I would never in my life see anything as bad as that.
Yeah, I thought when we banned a Serbian film that I
Yeah.
would have read the worst thing in the world from reading just the Wikipedia about it. And then I read some about his films, and I was like, you know what, never mind. I guess there's
something worse.
the world. There's a whole world of things not to watch.
And it's like not even like, so if you don't know anything about Gabe and I, this is your first encounter with us, you're walking in.
Yeah.
I don't like gore, especially. Like, I don't mind it, but I don't like realistic death, torture.
Yeah.
I'm not a torture porn fan. I love the Saw movies, but it's not my thing. And you do like torture porn.
Yeah.
But you're like, this was a step further than that.
Yeah.
So we don't scare easily. This is genuinely, Takashi, oh my gosh, dude, you're wild. That's all I gotta say. And I genuinely scoured the internet. I was like, how?
Yeah, what happened to him?
How, what, why? I need to know. And I got nothing.
No.
Like, all of our authors and, like, they had websites.
Yeah.
You know, he doesn't have a website, at least not that I could find. So I went through Wikipedia.
Yeah.
And got some, at least sort of information for you folks here. So Miike was born in Yao, Osaka, which is an area inhabited by poor working class immigrants from the Korean peninsula. And his family was from the Kumamoto prefecture. I don't know what prefecture means, but it's a big word, and I think it means an area.
Okay.
So we're going to go from there. On the island of Kyushu. So during World War II, I'm literally reading this verbatim from Wikipedia. So thank you,
Gotcha.
Wikipedia. I appreciate you. During World War II, his grandfather was stationed in China and Korea. And his father was born in Seoul, which is where Paul's from.
Nice.
Originally. So South Korea. And it doesn't sound like nothing glaring in there from that brief description indicates that Takashi has experienced any sort of witnessing of grandeur and violence or gore or anything like that. So I'm not getting any clicks in my brain as to why.
No red flags.
Yeah. But he was kind of like, in some interviews that I read, he seemed like he was describing himself as kind of like, not like, he was a little lazy in school. Like, he wasn't really about studying. He wasn't really about like education, stuff like that. So he's trying to figure out what he wanted to do when he got older. And thankfully, stumbled upon the Yokohama Vocational School of Broadcast and Film. And it all kind of went from there. He didn't really dream of being a director. That wasn't like his like one thing. But he once he got into it, he was like, this is so fun.
Yeah.
I want to do this for the rest of my life.
And he is.
Yeah.
He's doing it. Like, not even like a pretend do it.
Yeah. And there's some really great quotes from him that were like, just honestly, I've read a lot of interviews with him, and specifically just kind of like how he describes what he does, which is just such a unique thing in of itself. But he kind of describes it. There's a quote from theoutline.com for an interview he did for the Blade of the Immortal film that he did. And it's basically, a sculptor is going to take a piece of stone and they're not going to say, this is what I want to make. They just start sculpting it. And the stone turns into what it wants to be. To me, that's filmmaking.
I mean, I think that sculptors sometimes have an idea, but I get what he's saying.
Yeah.
I get it. And that's kind of how his films feel.
Yeah, no, honestly, it's kind of like a nice, what is a burn? Slow burn?
Slow burn.
Where you're just like, this is real normal. This is cool.
It's a drama.
This is not as bad as what I thought was going to happen. And then sidestep into hell.
Yeah.
And you're there. And it's done now. Specifically, and it's just interesting. So what he keeps talking about kind of in his interviews that he's doing is kind of that he sees it as play.
Yeah.
He doesn't see it as work. He sees it as a fun time.
Yeah.
Where he gets to just like expand his brain and go about and like create these things that some people can claim are masterpieces, and some people will claim are horrific, and some people claim are gratuitously violent.
Some will call them horrific masterpieces.
Yeah. So, like, he goes into it really, like, with this childlike sense of wonder.
Yeah. Look what I can do.
Yeah, basically,
This is the
honestly,
human body.
100%. Look what I can do. But yeah, he approaches his films with that, and he explores it as if he's like a kid playing, which is legit because kids like minds go everywhere. Like there's no real like when you're a little kid, like your imagination is your most powerful thing. There's a bunch of SpongeBob episodes about it.
Yeah.
And like you can go anywhere in your imagination. Little rainbow above your head, and you can be anything. So he really just like approaches it with there is no limit to what he can do on screen.
Or how he can make you feel watching what he put on screen.
And I totally get it. I'm totally there with you, Takashi. I get it.
Yeah.
But why is your childlike subconscious creative time brutally murdering people?
Well, that's what horror is, isn't it?
I mean, yes. But there's another interview he does in theguardian.com, and he argues that his films aren't excessively violent, even though everyone else seems to think so, including me.
What does he think excessive violence is?
Yeah, so to which I say, sir, what? But I kind of get his argument because he goes on to say, people say my movies are violent. I do not think so. For me, putting so much blood in a movie isn't really scary. When I watch a regular Hollywood movie like, let's say, Dirty Harry, where the hero is killing so many people, including just bystanders, and does it, and it doesn't really like apply to anything,
Yeah.
that's more horrific to me. And with that very specific outline, yeah, I'm following. Because, like, it's kind of true, where it's a little, like, the things that happen in his films are just so out of pocket.
Yeah.
Like, so what the heckness? Like,
Yeah.
what is happening in front of me that it's, like, almost fantastical. Because you're like, this can't be real. And there's also, like, this whole jump around thing that he does where you're kind of questioning the entire time, is this real? So I guess in that sense, it is giving you a slight bit of comfort in that, like, you're like, oh, thank God. Look, it looks like he might be hallucinating this whole thing. Oh, that'd be nice. But why is he hallucinating this whole thing?
Yeah.
He can't. It's so horrific. But then there's like this kind of play with that. So it's like, I totally am picking up what he's putting down in that regard. But I will argue.
Yeah.
It is excessively violent. It is super all around town violent. It is murder.
Super all around town.
It's just everywhere. Like, it's just why.
And the thing is, like, even the films that have less blood in them, right? Like, he cuts away appropriately. And he does not, like, mess with you the same way, like, Eli Roth would, who he loves. But that does not make these films any less violent and gruesome.
Yeah, they're still there, man.
Yeah, the lack of blood doesn't change what is happening.
Yeah, I mean, it hurt me. Emotionally and otherwise. It was just painful. And I don't know. And I guess I do see that it seems less realistic. Because they're not just like regular murdering people.
Yeah.
It
is like
extra
super
murdering
like
people.
absurdity.
Yeah, they're just really murdering. They're doing it. But like, just real out of pocket ways to do it.
Yeah.
They're really going. They're trying to get their gold star. It's making up for every time he was lazy in school and didn't go through that gold star. He's doing it now.
Okay.
Yeah. So I also get it in the sense where he tries to like make everyone have reasons to murder people.
Yeah.
So I guess it's like you're not villainizing necessarily even the most gruesome people.
Yeah.
Which I can deal with that. I just wish none of it happened at all. It's kind of where I land at the end of the day, except for the musical Murder Time. That was fantastic. I don't regret a second of that one. But that's, I mean, where we go is that there's 100 different films that you can watch.
Yeah.
You just got to read the full synopsis before you approach any of them.
Maybe
because
ask.
it could go so much further and worse than you wanted it to. And it just depends on like what your threshold is for not okay things being put in front of you. And like, also, if you're just like cool with those films, I might be scared of you now. I don't know. Because they were stressful.
Yeah, if that's your favorite. Yeah.
I mean, to each their own. To each their own. I'm not going to be judgy. But
it does say something about yourself.
that ish was bonkers. But yeah, that's all I got. I didn't even know where to start. I don't know where to end.
Yeah.
It was a time. And here we are. And there's no reason, like, I researched so much. I could not find anything that was like, oh, maybe that's why. I mean, other than like the stories he tells, like it just kind of maybe indicates that like maybe something bad happened, and he's also seeing that other bad things have happened to other people that make them do. It's kind of like violence
begets more violence.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
So.
I think it's funny because it's like he does give, his villains, a motive or like a traumatic past. And it's funny that his is so cloaked in mystery. It's like, what happened to you?
I want to know why this exists.
Yeah. Yeah. When we were watching, my whole thing was just like, is he okay? Did anyone check on him recently or anytime during the filming of these? Just to be like, how's your state of mind? Do you need like a spa vacation?
It's just, it's just like the Rule 34 or 32 or whatever. It's like the way my mind is nowhere near capable of grasping the world that he has created. And maybe that's good, but also like, wow, he's a functional, just like walking around guy.
Yeah.
He's making 100 films.
And
he has those nightmares.
Well, I mean, that's kind of like King too.
Yeah, no, that's
and
real.
Hill. They all
It's
got
just
it.
super creative and great, but like also terrifying, and it's just like a whole minute.
Yeah. Well, like you had said, right? Like I'm really happy that he is a filmmaker, because otherwise he would have needed a different outlet for these thoughts and feelings, which would probably have been murder, not films. So that's good. And that's to say that I think he is very much a not murderer kind of person too, because he does have this release.
This instead, like he just specifically was like, no, I don't want to do any of that. Let's make movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, what I felt like was that Takashi Miike's films are like the embodiment of like that awkward laugh that people do when they're in like uncomfortable situations.
Yes.
And they're like, okay.
That's good.
Nice. I can't leave. So, yeah. So that's literally how I feel like his films are. Like, that's how I feel when I'm watching. Because it's like, he does this thing where he straddles several genres at once. Yeah. So you kind of can't get comfortable and like assume what you're getting into. And then you're like, okay, we're on this kind of ride. And then it's like, nope, we're on this kind of ride. And you're like, okay. But even still, when he's doing these really absurd things, you can tell he's not really taking himself that seriously. Like, he does it very, like, over the top, like, the most unbelievable way, in a way that, like, I can see why he said, like, his stuff isn't like the worst. Because,
yes. I was like, oh, I'm totally following. Yeah, in that way. Yes. Yeah. I wish I read this article, though, before I watched it.
So we knew what was going on. Yeah. Because I think he has, you can tell he's having fun. And you can tell it's absurd, right? Yeah. Like, there's never really a time where you're like, this is real. Like, I can see this actually, like, it's almost like folklore in some ways. And a lot of the things that he creates is based off of, like, a manga or an anime or a book, right? Yeah. So he's taking something that's already fictional and can be absurd in its own right, and then, like, bringing it to film. Yeah. So in a way, it does separate itself from general torture porn, like something like Hostel, which is like, this is like what we could actually do to a human body and could seem really real.
There's a real realistic element to Saw that there is not with this, where it's like, maybe this could happen, but it's real unlikely.
Yeah, if anything, you do get the sense that everyone's having a fever dream shared.
Yeah.
And I think that's really interesting, and it's this fun way of like, it's like this fanciful way of mixing like fantasy and like gore and like monstrosity and trauma with like make-believe and like emotions.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm 100% here for it. None of my words were critiques. It was just like, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's all.
He has made, like I said before, over 100 films, which is like about 6 films a year. Wow. And he averaged that before his cult classic of The Audition, which is what we're going to talk about in our film section. But I think what's interesting about this is like we have authors who crank out books like that, like James Patterson has like 3 new books a year, right?
Yeah.
But that's because there's a specific like flow. Like he just has like an outline, and each book takes this new form, and he just fills in the little pieces. Yeah. You know, it's like he just has like a board. He just throws darts at it, and then he's like, all right, so it's a cup, and it's like a lover's quarrel, and then answer, right? With Takashi, they're really. He's churning them out very quickly, but each one is very distinct and unique. Yeah. And is in no way like he just kind of recycled old material to get something out here. He really is like working on each one. Even the ones that are like, found footage B movies are honestly the most atrocious that we did not watch. And he put a lot of information and a lot of emotion into that film for no good reason. But he took the time to do that, right? Yeah. And so like I feel like, we're strong believers here at the Ghouls that you whole butt one thing. You don't half butt 2 things. And he whole butts the whole things all the time.
Yeah, we need to take some lessons from Takashi, because I'm gonna be legit. We're half butting a bunch of things because we're doing so many things. And we need to be like Takashi. Give us money, world.
No, I don't know. I don't know if we'll ever be able, because I don't get it. I don't know where it comes from, right? Like, I don't know how he thinks these ideas and how
because he loves it. He's so creative and just genuinely is like, this is fun.
Yeah. And I think what's even more fun about him is that he's been quoted as saying, like, he doesn't watch his movies. Like, he makes them and then he's like, all right, yeah, I did it. People are like, that was so crazy. He's like, yeah, I guess. I don't really remember. Like, I feel like he's in a fever dream when he makes them. Yeah. And he comes out and he's like, oh, that's what that was. That's what I made. Yeah. But what I think is interesting, at least in the, like, diving into the, like, his filmography and, like, what the themes are in some of his films. So based on the ones that we watched and some of the ones that I looked into and, like, read up on, is his use of like severe trauma and abuse. Yeah. And what I think is interesting is that he really works to victimize the villains. Yeah. Like you kind of like for the majority of it, like who the villain is most of the time. But a lot of the times you're still like the story that you're getting is like the journey to how they got here. Most of the time.
And then even like the good guys, somehow throughout the fever dream, you're questioning whether or not they're good. Yeah. It's a whole...
Yeah. And, well, yeah, like our heroes are flawed. Yeah. Like our heroes in quotations, because they're really not. And our villains, like, are clearly using this as some way of, like, coping with their own personal trauma. Yeah. And, like, whatever way it's manifesting, right? Like, if it is just a dream and this isn't real, like, we're all going together as we work through our own, like, messed up stuff. Yeah. Right. And I think it's like he's really using this like the theme of like violence begets more violence like throughout in any way. Right. Like even like, and he does it in like this gratuitous way that makes it a joke. Like he's saying like this is a very serious topic. People are hurting each other and it's bad. But the moral there is just like if we keep doing that, we're only going to continue. Like those people are now going to hurt others. And then those people who got hurt are going to hurt another people. Yeah. And like even like in the audition, right? Like there was like really fantastical horror before we
Yes.
got to the end, right, is like this tales of what she had done. Like that we're like getting these little pieces and it's like, then there's like a tongue, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, it's absolutely fantastical.
Who's in the bag?
Yeah, yes, who's in the bag, right? Even with like Ichi, so Ichi the Killer, we didn't watch, but I read up on and watched some things as well just to kind of know. I was like, because he's very famous for this one. And really what it is that it's that Ichi is so absurd that even the Yakuza is like, that's too much. Like those people are extreme.
Yeah.
Like, and so like that's like saying a thing all by itself. Like this is the intensity and like the insanity of what Ichi does, and it's just that absurd that even like these people who are known for being murderous and always the villains are like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like we're outsourcing the damage to those guys because they're like off their rockers kind of thing. And so it does become a little funny. And that's why you get that like awkward laugh because you're like, I'm really uncomfortable, but it's kind of funny because it's so absurd what I'm experiencing.
Yeah. And I just also feel like you never know how it's going to end. Like, and I feel like that goes back to this whole sculpture quote because he doesn't know how it's going to end. He's just going, and then it's done, and you're like, what? Mm-hmm. But, like, the only reason he's not, like, what is the author? James Patterson?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's because he outlined it.
Yeah. He just does it. He just recycles old news.
Yeah.
Puts it with a new title.
Takashi doesn't
K
do
for
that.
Killing.
He doesn't do that. He just is like, this is a whole different thing.
Yeah.
And doesn't know how it's going to end. And just goes till it's a horrific masterpiece.
Yeah. Well, even like he does have the common theme of like someone who is traumatized. Like even Ichi has this like history that he thinks he has that he was abused. So now he's abusive. And there's also like this weird tie between like there's this tie-in of not only just violence but also sexuality mixed with it. Like there is this weird like people have like their line between like what is violence and abuse mixes in with their like what sex is because it was happening to them when they were forming those thoughts on their own, so it becomes this weird like mix between them. So even like Ichi is very much that. It just like starts out the film just jacking off. Like we get that right away. But even like with Asami, right? Like she's been betrayed by older men in like the audition, and not just, and our main character is not any like better for what he's honestly bad too.
Yeah, because he did the whole fake.
Yeah, so she's like, she knew he was going to hurt her, and she wasn't wrong. So is it wrong for her to preemptively like seek that out? Or with a woman, because she has no name, in Imprint, which we'll also talk about in our film section. She has like her very traumatic experience, and she's clearly like using this fantastical explanation for why she's lashing out at people because she doesn't trust them. She doesn't trust happiness. She doesn't trust hope. She doesn't trust friendship. And so she lashes out before it can hurt her. And so that's how we get where we are. But of course, we say all these other fantastical things to kind of explain away that, which is super interesting.
Imprint messed me up. That was because like we'll talk about it.
Yeah, we're gonna get real into it. But I think another thing that one of the biggest themes with him is dysfunctional families, and like you don't really see good family units. No. I would say the only like good family aspect was I'm totally blanking on his name right now, but the dad from Audition and his son. That was a good family unit in that he did like care about his kid, and that he took his kid's advice to go find a wife because he was like, oh, we're friends.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I would argue
yes
that the musical Murder Family was an excellent family because they stick together.
Yes, but before they got there, it was a dysfunctional family, and that's why they're there, is to work through their problems.
Solved.
And brings them together.
Well, technically, they didn't start murdering people, to whatever. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
But,
keeps us together.
Yeah, I think what's interesting is because it's like our families are we don't choose them.
Yeah.
That's just what we're born into. We get this life that we're given. And he does play a lot on like class like and where you
Class
come
is a
from,
big thing.
right? And so when you come from like either you're coming from a broken family of like torture, rape, and murder, and then you become a monster yourself, or you come from a broken family of torture, rape, and murder, and you accept one another, like the Katikuris, and you form a strong family unit, right? So
Yeah.
it's like you're either on your own and like you're forever changed and you're a monster, or you're all together and you're all forever changed and monsters together.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty interesting in like an approach to something that's like so dramatic. Yeah. You know, and I guess we'll talk about it more in the film section, but there's also some things that I initially wasn't experiencing because of my own personal lens, but upon evaluation, I was like, there's more going on here than I think I was giving him credit for.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to talk about that. Yeah.
Dope.
Films. Yeah, films. Yeah, films. We watched some films. Now let's talk about those films. And all that spooky stuff. And all that spooky stuff.
So we watched three things.
Yeah.
We're probably going to talk more in depth about two. And then I think...
You also read a detailed description of what might have been the most horrific thing that I've ever known to ever exist in the history of life.
Besides the Serbian film.
Yes. Because I read it with you. You sent it to me and I read it and it was like...
And now we're different.
Yeah.
But we watched three things that he created.
Yes.
And I would say they're all very different.
Yeah.
Even though they're all in the horror realm. Right?
Yeah.
So the first one we watched was his cult classic Audition from 1999, wherein which a widower takes an offer to screen girls at a special audition arranged for him by a friend to find him a new wife. The one he fancies is not who she appears to be at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That movie was crazy. But like in a fun way.
Yeah.
And in also, I didn't expect it to go how it did. And also... just like, yeah, I was so apprehensive to watch anything else by him after watching that film.
Yeah. So with this, if you haven't watched it, I think it is like an important film in horror history to watch. Because I think it is very impactful.
It was fantastic.
No.
It was just a lot.
It was different than we were either expecting.
Yeah.
And I think is interesting is that we have a film that starts out, and I'd say the first like 45 minutes is really just like a drama.
Yeah.
Like you're seeing this guy, his wife died. He's been alone for a long time. He's a businessman. Clearly, he's not the best man, right? Like he has this weird thing with his secretary, and when his friend offers up to put out a fake audition for him to find a wife, he's like, all right, fine. Like, that's not
that's a little
most manipulative thing ever.
Let's do it.
Yeah. And then furthermore is this man who is incredibly attracted to this one particular woman who has a traumatic past. And he's only further in love with her when he meets her, and she's like this docile, quiet, little, delicate flower that he is hoping will make the perfect, obedient wife. Like, it's unspoken, but it is there.
And there was also this whole element that, like, she understood how much life sucked.
Yeah.
And that was just really attractive. Which, I mean, I get.
Yeah.
In that, like, when you're hurt by people, you want to find people who can understand that hurt because they've experienced things.
Yeah.
Like, that's something that happens.
Mm-hmm.
But...
yes.
Little did he know. And also she was really young comparatively.
Yeah, she's very young. And even so, like, there's some lies on her application that his friend catches on to. And it tries to reason with him and says, like, you know, these things aren't checking out. You should, and he is so...
red flags.
Yeah. And he's just so unconvinced that, like, women could be that way. And that this woman, who looks like a delicate flower, could be anything. Less than like what, or more than what he's thinking she is.
Like, he at least is saying that she's not dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, because he comes from this place where it's just like, of course.
Like,
of
I
course
can
they're not.
defend myself.
Yeah, like I'm this big man and I've got age and years behind me, and I'm the big businessman, and I've never had problems with women before.
Yeah.
You know, like I get whatever I want. And she's coming from this, like we later find out that, you know, she came from this really troubled past, and that her past is littered with revenge all throughout.
Yeah.
So, but he's still like going in it. Like he's the whole time is really just like But what I think is interesting is like you're going through in this drama, and you're like they're having like awkward dinners, and there's like the whole scene where he's like leading up where he's kind of playing the phone game where he's like, I'm not gonna call her right away.
Yeah.
So, like I'm gonna, you know, tease her, leave
3
her
days.
hanging by the phone, right? Which is
Yeah.
a funny phrase to say.
Yeah.
Except that we see her literally just like sitting on the floor, her hair's all like drooped down, all like Grudge style, and she's just literally sitting by the phone.
Like staring at it.
Yeah. For days.
Yeah.
That he's not doing. And in the background, because we have this nice shot where like off into the background of the shot is a burlap sack
Yeah.
that has been like not discussed, but it is there.
Yeah.
And then he does call, and the phone rings, and we're given this disturbing image of her getting this little creepy smile slowly as she's not answering the phone that she's been waiting for all day. And the burlap sack jumps up
Yup.
because something is in there and it's alive.
Yeah.
So that's the first time when we're like, wait, hold on. Something's happening. What's happening now? And you have this sense of danger. You're
Why
like,
does she have a bag, man?
wait, hold on. What's in the bag? And then they go on a date, and we're back to normal town. And you're like, okay, she's a little awkward, but she's like soft.
But it's okay.
Yeah,
I
we're
don't know
fine.
what the bag was about,
But I've forgotten, just like he would.
but we're here, and everything seems okay.
Yes.
She's not saying anything, whoa. Except for, then you keep going.
Yes. And now they're on a date, like he's whisked her away.
It's transitioned to like bigger date.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she gets real intimate, real fast, like real serious. Like,
Yeah.
this is happening, and you need to give me everything, or I'm going to be upset. And just like any other dude in like this situation is just like, of course.
Yeah,
babe,
everything.
Like, yeah.
I don't love my son. What?
Like that doesn't even occur to you. You think like,
Yeah.
yeah, of course. Or like, yeah, of course I still am pining over my dead wife, because that's what normal humans are like, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't even stop to think like, I
He
should
hasn't
check
even
on
told
her.
her that he had a dead wife.
Yeah. He's just like, yeah, of course, babe. Like, I love you forever.
You're naked. Let's go.
Don't, like, you let me see your knees. Right? And this is like during a time. Yeah. But this is during a time when like censorship was like super big during that time. And
Yeah.
also like the very like coyish, like docile, sweet
yeah.
woman was the main thing in that time, right? So what Takashi's really playing with is like subverting that, like 100, because we all play into that, like, because like we just like even subconsciously are thinking the same thing he is, in that like she couldn't be that bad.
Yeah, like anything
know?
that you think it's bad, it's probably not that deep, you know?
Yeah.
But it keeps going.
Yeah.
And you get these like flashes where you're like, oh, wait, was the first time we were on this date not what happened? Because now
Yeah.
she's saying different, way more red flaggy kind of stuff that he just totally was like, no, we're
Yeah.
not going to show them that.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Well, what it is it's showing you that our main character is unreliable, right? That he went in and was not listening to her and did
Yeah.
not see her.
And his perspective was totally skewed.
Yeah. So when we revisit these scenes and she says things, it's even like, did she really say those things?
Yeah.
What was really, like, you don't know what to believe. And you're just put in this whirlwind of like, what is reality? Where am I? How did I get here? What is going to happen next? I'm so scared of the uncertainty, because nothing is written. There's nothing written
Yeah.
out that could
Well,
ever
'cause you
take you
can't-
on this journey.
You can't figure it out. You're just like, what's happening?
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed the skewed perspective thing. Like, I thought
Yeah.
that was genius. In that, like, one, you're questioning everything, but then also, as you said, it showed that he wasn't listening. He wasn't observing those red flags. You're going
Yeah.
back and you're like, oh, she said that to you? You didn't say that she said that to you.
Yeah.
Man.
And why didn't you react differently? Like, why are
Yeah.
you still treating her like this when she's very
he
clearly
was
like
not
needs
listening.
more than that? Yeah. Right. And like, so
Seeing what he wanted to see.
Yeah. You see, you kind of
Men.
feel less like you're still stressed out, and he's still in a very terrorizing predicament that you're like, oh gosh. But at the same time, you're like, but like, I don't 100% blame her. Like, I do, because you shouldn't do that to people.
Yeah.
But it was like, I see where she thought, like, I was watching, I was like, oh, she's going to misread this. She's going to see this. She's going to do that. And then, of course, that's exactly where it came from. And she doesn't let him even try to explain. She's like, you know what? I've heard it. Every single man I've ever met has been bad.
Yeah.
And like, why wouldn't you think that every man is bad after that?
Yeah.
But what I think is really fun about it is that she is this villain. Like, she does, like, so there's, like, parts where she's doing this, like, torment to him, and she's, like, so adorable in it. Like, she's just, like, kitty kitty. This, like, cute
It's
little,
very
like, traumatizing.
But it's awful.
Yeah.
Because she's murderizing him.
And she's, like, being really adorable, and then he's, like, writhing in pain.
Yeah.
And, like, and it's so, like, there's not a lot of blood. There's not a lot of gore. But there's this tension, and there's that awkward laugh happening where you're like, I am so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like, I get that he deserved this, but also, like, no one deserves this. And what, honey, who hurt you? I know who hurt you is really upsetting, and you're really cute, and I don't know what to do.
Yeah. It just makes you feel a lot of uncomfortable feelings. And in a, like, smart way that I would argue, like, so we said Midsummer just wanted us to be uncomfortable the whole time, but did it, like, crappy.
Yeah.
This is not crappy. This is, like, ingenious. I want to know what his head is, but I don't, because I never want to go there.
Yeah.
But, like, it was a whole situation, and it was so good. Yeah. And, like, I was not, every single ending of everything we watched, I was not expecting that to be the ending.
Yeah. Because once it takes that turn, you're on this roller coaster.
There's no tropes. He's just doing stuff. He's just like, boop, ba-doop. You're dying.
Putting this here. Yeah. And
needles in your face.
You're just stuck there now.
Yeah.
You know, and you're just like, all right, let's just see where it goes. And he plays with reality a lot. So then you get like a breath of fresh air where you're like, okay, maybe this was a dream. Oh my God. And then you're like, oh no. Oh,
it's
no,
back.
back.
His foot is gone.
Yeah, and
just
you didn't see
sound.
it, but you know.
Ah.
I was like, Steven ain't got nothing. Like, Mercy,
right?
like,
oh
yeah,
my
Misery
God.
was barely anything in comparison to that scene. Yes.
No.
So after we watched that and felt a little uncomfortable, I read this article about the Masters of Horror series.
Yes.
That was a part of Showtime that Takashi Miike was asked to contribute to. Because
Yes.
he is a master of horror.
He surely is.
Yeah. And so he has said that the scariest of the projects that he has ever worked on is Imprint, which is from this. And what happened was that he was asked to do this. And he said, everyone kept telling me that America's a free country and that I could really do whatever I wanted. It's cable TV, so don't hold back at all and make it as scary as possible. So I did that. And then when I showed it to the producers in Japan, they were like, I know we told you that you could do anything, but this is going too far. This is way too far. So they actually had to pull it from airing. So they had to, and then they had to release this press release to be like, I'm sorry that we said there would be 13 episodes. There's only 12 because it's like illegal to show what he made. And so then I read that article, I told Kat about it, and then I turned to her and she was like, you want to watch 13 Assassins? The fun kung fu and like martial arts movie? And I was like, no, Catherine, I need to watch this movie.
And I was like, why? You read it. You read what it, no.
It's like, it's been banned and I have to watch it. So we have to watch it now. And then I push play. So
this is what happened.
This is what we watched.
Oh, yep. It was in the 1800s, an American returns to Japan to find a sex worker he fell in love with, but instead learns of the physical and existential horror that befell her after he left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
really has very little to do with that part.
Yeah. So this is again another like trick that you experience watching a Miike film. So we are kind of similar in what we this time we're not kind of settled into a drama. We know it's horror. Like immediately we see like a body in the water of a pregnant woman.
Yeah, who's died.
Dead. And you're set into this place where it's like, this is a horror place, right?
Yeah, this is a bad place to be. You don't want to be in this place.
Why does anyone want to be here, right?
Yeah.
But, so we already kind of know that. And you kind of get comfortable in that where you're like, okay, yeah, I can handle this. This looks like what it is, right? And you get this man, and he's an American, and they say these, like, bizarre things to him, like on the boat. Like one of them was like, is it true what they say that like you're hung like a horse or whatever? I was like, what are people saying about Americans? One, we're also different. Like you can't have a like generalization about Americans. Like
it's not like you get off the boat here and your penis enlarges.
That's not how that works. But there's like, you know, this myth around him, and it's like he's returning and he has this like aura, right? And we're immediately put in this world that just feels like this one little spot. Like that's all that this island is. It's like this island, you have to go through a bunch of bodies in the water to get to the working women who are just there. And it's cages. Like it feels and they're like throwing themselves at people. And it was like really bizarre because I was just like, well, I thought like things are different. And then Kat was super helpful in educating me on what happens to geishas and stuff like that.
Basically, like after World War II, all of like the cultural significance that it had was like,
because Americans ruined
I can't curse, but blip 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 dies. It's if your parents aren't married when they have you eyes. Because just they cheapen it. The Americans come all in and they ruin it. And also so many people are dead. And it's just a sad, awful
traumatized place. So that's like clearly the only like...
So that's what happened to the
commodity that's happening here are girls. And they're definitely just objects. Like they just get tossed into the water. They're killing themselves or they're getting killed. And their only real protection is to work there. Really. And even that isn't a lot. Right. And so our main character stumbles upon this woman who's got like a face deformity, like she's like scarred. And so like she gets like harassed because she's not throwing herself out there. And he's like, I'll take because he doesn't want to see that anymore. And then it turns into this, like he's been asking around about the woman he loved. And it's like, where did he go? Why didn't he take her? What's going on? And no one will tell him. But then this woman does. The woman who doesn't have a name. And it does the same thing that we did in Audition, where we're experiencing one narrative. We're getting told a story. And as viewers, we're like, okay, thank you for that. And it did end up being horrific. And we were like, here it is. Like classic Miike with the needles and torture and the like unnecessary. And it hurts. And we're like, oh, man, wow. I guess I get why.
Don't put that in her fingers.
And we
just
were
lots
like,
of that.
I guess I see why it was banned, right? It was like, okay, that's awful.
No, but that wasn't even it.
No,
that wasn't even it. You get to that part and you're like, oh, wait.
There's still more of this film.
What? No. 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 Why? It was banned. I understand. It's okay.
Yeah. Well, with this scene that we get to, it's kind of like the burlap sack of this film. Like we get it's the first hint that something is wrong, but you think like, okay, this is it. All right, this is the height of what we're getting. Right? Yeah. And then it takes another turn where we revisit what we had been told was fact. And now we're getting a different world that is way more cruel, way more like impactful and drama, like it's grotesque.
The girl telling her story that like, so also she starts like real timid and quiet at first too, and you're like, this girl's not going to murder me, it's fine. And then
don't trust women in Miike's films.
So and then it keeps going, and then she gives her first version of her story, which is just very sad, and you're like, this is a bad
She
time.
tried. She was a hero.
She was trying really hard to be good. And then, like, I feel like generally films will do that to people who've experienced, like, they'll either make them a villain or they'll make them seem like they have to be doing good all the time. Or, like, trying to prove that they're different from the world that they came from. And that's not always the case. So, you kind of were like, oh, she's cool.
Yeah.
She was the friend.
But then we get the first rewrite of history,
Yeah.
which is that she was not the friend.
Oh, by no means.
And then it was like, okay, I guess I can handle that. She's bad.
Yeah.
Fine. And then it was like, no, wait, we're going to do this one more time. Look, one more again. We're going to come back
She's
around.
not just bad.
We're going to show you the history. Like, because it kind of like rewrote just a little sliver of it. So you're like, okay, so she fibbed. She did a little fib. And then it was like, no, here's the actual truth. And then you're like, wow.
I didn't expect it. I don't think anyone I don't know if Miike expected it. It was just like, wait a minute. What?
Yeah, straight out of left field.
Yeah, it was just wild. But it was a good time. It was horrific and awful. I want them to watch both of the films, so I don't want to spoil them too much.
Yeah.
But it was good.
Mm-hmm.
It was a lot. Yeah, let's talk about the last one.
Well, we'll just kind of brush on. So, because we felt so upset after watching the Imprint, like we were forever changed.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh, maybe we need to watch Ichi, and I'm glad we didn't because I read up on it and I got it. I get the gist. And then we were gonna watch the Gozu and because the dog, and then we were like, no.
Yeah.
And then we just Googled him, and we found The Happiness of the Katikuris from 2001.
It was so nice.
The trailer was so absurd. I was like, this can't be real. Like, is this a real, like, this whole thing is for real? It's 2 hours long. Are you sure? And it's about a family that moves to the country to run a rustic mountain inn when, to their horror, the customers begin befalling sudden and unlikely fates. And
I just read the IMDb taglines.
yeah.
This is fantastic.
It
Do
is
you want
love,
to do it?
music, horror, volcanoes. So this film has absurd musical numbers
Yes.
that are like high quality. Like you could, like if you went to a karaoke bar and they have those videos that play behind the songs, so like someone just like riding a bike. It's kind of like that. There's claymation. For the scenes that couldn't have been played by people. Yeah. There's like really bad acting and over dramatic acting, which is really fun. And this really absurd story that I feel like it never knew where it was going.
It was such
the whole
a time, but like a fun one. I was never at any point like, turn this off. I was like, this is fantastic. Are they singing again? Yes. So like, if you watch the first two, like we did.
Yeah. You need a breather.
You just want a murder-filled treat where zombies dance.
Yeah.
And it's just such a wonderful place of murderous music.
Yeah.
It was so great. Watch this. Watch The Happiness of the Katikuris.
Yeah.
It was so fun. It was such a breath of air.
Yeah, I think it's like after having watched the other ones, we were like, I guess I got them figured out. Because both of them have very similar themes. I was like, I'm tired of women being tortured and then they end up being murderers. Like, I'm tired of that. And so I was like, that's kind of why I wanted to watch Ichi, because I was like, there's a dude who does that, right? The man is tortured into be murder. Or let's just watch, like, men cut up other men in, like, martial arts. And I was like, I don't want to do that either. And
I just don't want to watch anyone cut up anybody anymore.
Yeah, I'm tired of it. So, I mean, they still kind of do in this, but it was way more fun. And if you really want to see like how diverse his mind is and how he can do whatever he wants.
This is a creative time.
That. Yeah.
Child land of wonder.
Yeah. So definitely, this is good family film. 100% worst bad family film is Visitor Q, which just do yourself a favor and read the wiki on to learn what it's about, but we're never going to talk about it.
Visitor Q?
Yeah.
That's the awful thing you made me read.
So that's bad, worst family that ever existed, and I can't. So, but if you want to see best family, or good family anyway.
Better family than that.
Good family trying best is this.
Yeah. It was a good time.
Worst family everyone should be murdered, including Takashi at that point, is Visitor Q. It should. When I was reading in the Wikipedia, I was like, someone go arrest him. He needs to be in jail.
No, like after reading it, I was like, I feel bad that someone had to act this.
I was like,
How did they make it a movie?
I was like,
It was worse enough to read. I knew what happened. I didn't visuals in my brain.
I was like, I understand why in a futuristic society that thoughts are crimes and that people should be locked up just for thinking things. And if that's the case, he needs to go away for a long time, is how I felt just from thinking and writing all that down. And then he literally made it into a film, and I just feel like it
How
should
are the
only be on the
actors
dark
not
web.
traumatized?
And I don't know why he was able to keep going. So I was like, someone please check on him. He should be in jail. But when I pretend that movie doesn't exist, then I'm like, you know what? Good job, guy.
Yeah, it was a
you're
fun
around.
time as long as that isn't real. But it is real, so here we are.
Yeah.
But he was fun. Also terrible. But, like, not terrible in the way I usually use terrible. Just, like, I never want to see it again.
Yeah. But
it was cool.
It's good that you did it, I guess.
Yeah.
You keep doing that and not anything else.
Yeah. Don't go back.
Yeah, feelings. Yeah, I said feelings. Let's talk about feelings. Okay. And all that spooky stuff. I love spooky stuff.
If you like it, it is the good family of the Katikuris.
Yeah.
If you don't like it, it is the bad family from Visitor Q.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to tell you about. Like, you just have to read about Visitor Q. Like, I can't even say it in my own words. Like,
I don't think
because I
anyone
think it's
should.
gross, and I don't want to have to say that with my mouth. So I won't. But if you're, you want to be hardcore or whatever,
You want to be brave. Prove
it,
to all
man.
your friends that you're tough.
don't tell me about it. I don't care. That's why we never did an episode on Tusk.
Yeah.
And a Serbian film. Like, we have limits.
Yeah.
But how do you feel about Takashi Miike? Overall, just like with and without Q in it.
Best family.
Best family.
I just like how his mind works. She, like, not in the bad place that it goes, but just like the vastness of the levels of creativity. The fact he can make 100 films and they're different and that they're all like, they do have a theme, but that, like, he's really just being really creative with it. He's not letting anyone stop him. He's just really going. He's doing it. He's living his best life.
Yeah. I would say,
Having fun.
it's Katikuris because it's like he does it full.
Yeah.
He does everything 120%.
Yeah.
He doesn't pull any punches. He doesn't hold anything back. He takes you for a ride. You never know what to expect. You can't get comfortable with him. And I think that's fun, especially for someone who's made so many films. It's so easy to just become like the same thing. Like, you're just regurgitating the same lore. And it's like very, remarkable, right? Like, because we've talked about people who are just starting out. We've talked about Guillermo, who has a very distinct theme and a Guillermo film when you see it, right? And, even with, like, Anna Lily, like, she's had 2 films, but they're both distinctly her, right?
Yeah.
And then next week, we're going to be talking about Jordan Peele, and we're going to talk about, like, what he comes from and how he's affecting it, right?
Yeah.
But for Takashi to have this many in him and to make them so 100% themselves, like, each film is distinctly their own, is very remarkable. And so
He's
for
an
that, I'm like, all right.
Impressive dude.
He's the awkward laugh. And I think that's, like, the best way to explain it.
You should just get a t-shirt that says, I am the awkward laugh.
I am the awkward laugh. What about the film Audition?
I liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the Katikuris for Audition. Imprint. I like that it exists.
Yeah.
I never want to see it again.
Yeah, well, I don't think I'd see him again either. But I do recommend Audition to anybody.
Yeah, Audition was good. Like, it was messed up, but it was good.
Yeah. I
Quality.
100% recommend that to anyone. And with the Imprint, it's like, there are some people who probably would really dig it. And it is a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
Oh, yeah.
You'll never know
close.
that. And it is, like, it has some bad acting in there because it's English. So there's some, like, translation things that are kind of weird, and some of the dialogue doesn't fit the same way that he usually does. And then the actor is not great.
For Imprint, yeah.
Yeah. But the story itself is such a wild ride that it's like you could never experience that anywhere else except for at Takashi Miike's adventure park.
Yeah.
So you have to go there. And the Katikuris, 100% recommend that.
It was so fun.
If
It
you
was
got
just
2 hours to spend with some friends,
Yeah.
Watch it.
I recommend it as something you hang out and drink and
Yeah.
be.
Yeah, it has inspired me because I've already wanted to do it, but hopefully in the future we will do a horror musicals series.
Yeah.
And we can really jump into this one because it's time. Yeah. And I think, Takashi, do what you're doing. I'm glad you're not arrested. I wish you had been for a minute. And I'm glad you're not, though.
Yeah.
It was really like, how dare you? How dare you do that to my eyes just from reading it?
The fact that the film exists is genuinely upsetting on a level I didn't realize I could reach.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, this is
Like,
on the
I
dark
thought
web.
Game of Thrones was bad when they had that grown child nurse.
Yeah. That was gross.
This is that times 70.
Yes.
You never even thought you could see the words
Yeah.
of what that film is.
Yeah.
I'm just
There's
saying.
no other words that can explain it. But yeah, I am glad that we covered him because it's like this experience I never knew I would have.
And also, he just deserves some serious props. Like,
Yeah.
he's really out here doing it. And he's not getting enough accolades, I've decided. He's the man of, like, one of the horror people, like, masters of horror. But, like,
people need.
I did not hear
no one's
about
talking
him.
about
I didn't
him.
know who he was until you told me about him.
Yeah.
And I mean, I feel like that's a lot about what my life is, because you tell me a lot of stuff that's smart, and then I know it now. But what I'm saying is that I should have heard this name before.
Yeah. But he is foreign, so that's, it's a
don't
big
care.
American thing, too.
I don't care. America's...
Which is why, for
Nothing's
the series...
touching him. I thought Steven was bad. There, he's not. He's an angel baby next to Takashi.
So true.
Like,
I was like,
come on.
I'm so sorry I was ever hard on Steven in episode 1. I was like, I'm really sorry I did this because apparently there's worse. And now we know there's always worse.
And it's not even like worse in a bad way. It's just worse in
Something
essence. Like, it
exists.
just exists.
Yeah.
I'm using words in ways I never thought I would, just like him.
Yeah.
He has inspired us.
Yeah. So next week we're going to do Jordan Peele. Or actually, it'll be the week after next because we're taking a break for Christmas.
Yeah.
So just stay tuned and then we'll be in the new year for some new fun.
For Christmas.
Christmas Hanukkah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Taking a break.
All right. Well, don't get married. They'll eat your kids.